Greetings from Arizona. This is Tony Kuyper. I'm happy to announce that the newest version of the TK Actions panel is finished. This is called the TK7 panel, and there are lots of improvements. The layout of the new panel, however, remains the same as the V6 panel. There are still 4 modules: Batch, Combo, CX, and Rapid Mask. Anyone familiar with the previous version should find it pretty easy to adapt to the TK7. I'll go over some of the most important updates and new features. First of all, I'll quickly mention that there are now installers for both Mac and Windows computers. No more manual installation is necessary. The installer copies and pastes the new modules to the correct place on your hard drive in just a few seconds. For all modules, the buttons are now 20% larger. The modules are about the same size, but the buttons are bigger, making them easier to see and click. This was made possible by removing the rollover help from the bottom of each module. But the help is still available. You just need to hold down the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on Mac and roll over a button. The help message then automatically pops up at the top or the bottom of the module. Settings are now accessed by either clicking the TK logo on each module or by choosing Settings from the flyout menu. Most of the previous settings from the V6 carry over to the TK7 panel. Things like language choice and personal action names from the V6 panel should already be chosen and present the first time you open the TK7 modules. The Combo and CX modules essentially run Photoshop with buttons for menu commands and keyboard shortcuts. Both modules do the same thing. The 2 different arrangements provide flexibility for your workspace layout. There are a few changes to the control buttons in the main interface. The CAF button allows easy access to Photoshop CC 2019's new content-aware fill dialog. The red X button allows you to toggle enabling and disabling of layer masks to see the effect that the mask is having on the image. And the Adjustment Layers menu button has been relocated to the top of the module. Now instead of clicking it, you merely need to roll your mouse over it and it pops open. The web sharpening section has also been updated. There are now multi-dimension options. You can specify a vertical dimension and click the Vert button, and the image is copied, resized, and sharpened to this vertical dimension. Or you can use the horizontal dimension, click the Horiz button, and the final image will have that horizontal dimension. Or you can specify both the horizontal and vertical dimensions and click the Fit button to fit the final image into a box defined by these 2 dimensions. So there is some new flexibility as to how you resize your web sharpened images. Some of the biggest changes are in the TK Actions menu accessed by clicking this button. This menu has 3 sections: Actions, Color, and Blend, which describes the various actions in each group. New to the Actions menu in TK7 are Freehand Vignette, which allows you to draw your own vignette with the lasso tool; Spotlight, which makes it possible to easily add highlights to the image, again using a shape defined by the lasso tool; Dehaze, which works like the dehaze function in Camera Raw, but with substantially less color change, plus independent control over brightness and clarity; and RGB to LAB, which allows accessing the LAB color space functions from RGB images. The last major change in this menu is in the Add Color action. It now allows you to select a color from the image, preview the effect, and then precisely paint it in exactly where it's needed in the image. There are no major changes in the user actions, although any personal actions and action names recorded in the previous V6 panel are easily transferred to the TK7 panel. For the batch module, which resizes and sharpens entire folders of images, the main change is that the new multi-dimension options present in the Combo and CX modules are also available on this module. The Rapid Mask module is still the heart of the TK7 panel. It makes an infinite variety of 16-bit pixel-based masks, like luminosity masks, and this is a place where there have been significant updates. However, the module's overall layout has not changed. Source, mask, modify, and output are still the same steps to successfully create and deploy masks, so the basic top-to-bottom workflow has not changed. The source section allows you to choose the data source for making masks. Each item in this section saves the pixel data for the current image and creates an initial Lights-1 equivalent rapid mask, which is displayed on screen. If you want standard luminosity masks, the composite button selects luminosity as the source data. So clicking it saves this data set in the LumLock channel and generates an initial Lights-1 luminosity rapid mask, which you see here. The channel menu selects different color channels as the data source for masks. Like in the V6 panel, the TK7 channel menu still makes red, green, and blue masks from the corresponding red, green, and blue channels. But TK7 can now also make CMYK masks while still in RGB color mode. So this is a cyan 1 mask for the cyan channel. And this is a black swan mask for the black channel. The color menu has also been expanded. Color range and user-created masks are available on the left side. But new to TK7 are color zones on the right side. These masks use calculations to select adjacent colors on the color wheel and can be very useful for colors naturally found in photographic images. For example, this is an initial warm zone mask that selects red and yellow colors in the image. And this is an initial cool zone mask that selects blue and cyan colors in the image. The last menu option is saturation, and from here you can make true saturation and vibrance masks via the selective color method I described in a previous tutorial. For this demonstration, I'm going to go back and click the composite button to use luminosity as my data source for making additional masks. Once you've selected a source and created your initial mask, it's time to explore different mask options in the mask section. This section looks the same as the previous V6 panel, but the rapid mask engine running in the background is about 20% faster. So the different mask choices display almost instantaneously as the different buttons are clicked. The choices include different lights masks that select fewer tones than the initial source mask. Different inverted masks, also known as darks masks, that select the opposite pixels from what were selected by the source mask. Mid-tone masks that select tones midway between the light and dark masks. And zone masks that select different gray tones along the tonal spectrum, from dark tones to mid-tones and on into light tones. Or you can use the pick button and let the module find the zone mask that matches where you click on the image, and the module will then also highlight the zone that was chosen. After selecting a mask in the mask section, it can be further modified in the modify section, and there are lots of new choices in this section also. I'll go back and make a Lights-1 mask for demonstrating these different modify options. The most prominent new feature in the Modify section is this slider with 3 handles. This is a single slider modify function that works like a levels command embedded in the module. Drag the middle slider left to expand the selected pixels, and drag it right to contract the selected pixels. Dragging the highlight slider left creates more white in the mask by turning light gray values white. And dragging the shadow slider right increases black in the mask by turning darker grays black. So with this one slider, it's possible to do a lot of mask modification, like contracting the selection and increasing contrast. And of course, there's an undo button if you want or need to start all over. There are also lots of new buttons in the Modify section. The ones here on the left are tools for making precise changes to the mask. You can paint with black or white, or you can burn the dark gray values darker, or dodge the light gray values lighter. Another option is to use the lasso tool to make a selection of a specific part of the image, and then use this mask button to mask out the rest of it. I'm going to back up to my original mask to show some additional modify options. For example, there's now an ACR option to use all the power of the camera raw filter to modify the mask. In addition to the single slider modify function to perform levels adjustments, there is also a curves adjustment option and a brightness contrast option. Below these are buttons that expand what's selected by the mask and contract it. And for completeness, there are also buttons to invert the mask and blur it. So there are a ton of ways to modify the mask. You certainly won't need all of these for every mask, but can instead choose whatever method works best for you on a particular image. Finally, there is the mask calculator. This takes any mask generated in the source, mask, or modify areas and adds, subtracts, or intersects it with any other mask created in these sections. For example, I can take a Lights 1 luminosity mask created with the composite source button and subtract, by clicking the minus sign, the Lights 3 mask generated by clicking the Lights 3 button in the mask section. Then I can modify the mask in the modify section. And finally, I can click the calculator's equal button to get the final results, where those light areas in the second mask have been subtracted and are now black in the final mask. So there are a lot of different possibilities in the source, mask, and modify sections to create precise custom masks. Which mask you make depends on what you'd like to do to your image. The different sources give a place to start, and the mask and modify areas let you refine the mask to target specific pixels. The output section is where you actually put the mask to work. It has several different options for deploying the rapid mask that was created. The Layer menu button opens a menu of different layer options. The ones on the left are adjustment layers. Clicking one of these creates that adjustment layer with the current rapid mask as the layer mask. The Properties panel opens, and you can then make an adjustment to the image with the mask filtering the effect to the selected pixels. The options on the right in the Layer menu create the type of layer that is described, again with the rapid mask as the layer mask. These actions also activate certain tools. For example, clicking the Dodge menu item creates a dodge layer on the Layers panel with the rapid mask as the layer mask, but it also activates the brush tool and sets the foreground color to white. So you just need to adjust brush size and opacity and start painting. You'll notice that I didn't have to regenerate a new rapid mask when I used this second output option. That's because the current rapid mask is still stored in the rapid masks channel on the channels panel. This is all part of the rapid mask engine that generates masks. As long as there is a rapid mask channel, the output options in the TK7 know to look for it, and if it's there, we'll use it to perform whatever output function is chosen. So if I click the Selection Output button, the rapid mask channel is loaded as a selection. You'll notice though that there are no marching ants. The TK7 panel now has the option to turn off the selection edges when this button is clicked, and I have it activated. Since painting through the active selection is almost always the intention when loading the rapid mask as a selection, the panel can be set to automatically hide the marching ants, since they're almost always in the way and need to be turned off to properly evaluate the effect that painting has on the image. The active selection indicator tells you that there is still an active selection, even when the marching ants aren't visible. Also, since painting on a layer mask is a frequent process following loading a mask as a selection, the Output Selection button has two Quick Paint buttons right beside it. They both do several functions, but the background color will match the color of the mask and the brush color will match the color of the paint that gets applied. So if I want a black mask with a white brush, I can click this button and can simply set brush opacity and size and start painting through the active selection onto the mask. The Save button allows saving the current rapid mask on the Channels panel so it can be used again in the future. And the Apply button applies the rapid mask as a layer mask to the active layer. The small FM button applies the rapid mask as a filter mask, but that's only applicable on smart object layers that have smart filters. One more important feature on the Rapid Mask module is Layer Mask Mode. It's turned on by clicking this checkbox in the upper left corner. In Layer Mask Mode, all the masks that are generated or modified automatically get applied to the layer mask of the active layer. To show how this works, I'll click over to the layer where an adjustment layer is actually making an adjustment to the image. Layer Mask Mode allows you to select the appropriate mask by seeing how the image looks as different masks are applied or modified. I'll click the Composite button, and you'll see that the Light Swung Luminosity mask is now the layer mask for the active layer. The adjustment gets filtered differently with each different mask applied depending on what the mask reveals. You can decide which mask in the Mask section looks best, or even modify the layer mask using the Modify section. For example, I can select the black brush and paint black on the layer mask to conceal some of the adjustment. The last major change in the Rapid Mask module in the TK7 version is in the Settings. Again, to open Settings, either click Settings in the module's flyout menu or click the TK icon. In the Settings window, you can select your language, your preferred selection indicator, and the accent color for the module. There are also two options that can be turned on or off. I've already mentioned one. Auto Hide Selection Edges hides the marching ants when the rapid mask is loaded as a selection using the Selection Output button. I always keep this one checked so I don't have to deal with turning off marching ants if I don't have to. Checking the Keep Channels Panel Clean option deletes the channels generated by the rapid mask every time an Output button is clicked. This reduces file size and makes sure you're not working with a rapid mask that contains stale data from sitting on the Channels panel for a while. Having this option checked means you won't be able to reuse the rapid mask like I did in this demonstration, but you will always have masks that are freshly generated from the current state of the image. I've been leaving this checked for my own processing and now prefer it this way. You can decide what works best for you. Okay, that's a very brief overview of the new TK7 panel. It does a whole lot more than what I can put into one video, so please check out the TK7 video guide for a complete, in-depth review of all the features. For now, I hope you're ready to dive in and start exploring the masks and actions and Photoshop controls that are possible with the different modules. I think you'll find it a great tool for exploring the light in your images and hopefully finding some really good light along the way.